Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, Canadian curling great Jennifer Jones joins us to talk about her life on and off the ice. The annual Shoebox Project is underway, putting together gift boxes for women, girls, two-spirit, and gender-diverse individuals in need this time of year. We'll find out more and how you can help. We'll learn more about the new library in Barrie, and we get our usual catch-up on the Barrie Colts. We get the conversation started after this. She's the greatest of all time, depending on who you talk to. Canadian and world Olympic curling champion Jennifer Jones, whose life has settled down a little bit in Simcoe County. She's been on tour with her book, Rockstar, My Life On and Off the Ice. She took some time to speak with Barrie 360's Julius Hern.
So what really drew you to writing a memoir?
You know what, it was something that we'd always talked about, my curling teams. We'd say, we need to write a book, because there's just so many stories and so many things that happen that we thought it would be fun to write a book. And then all of a sudden I retired, and it seemed like the right time to do it. And it was a really, really good way for me to step away from curling and say goodbye and remember all of the amazing moments. And then also, you know, for our kids to have something to reflect back on, just such a big part of their life. Like, their entire life was spent following us curling, and so I thought it would be a really good, something nice for them to have for the rest of their life.
What would you say was the hardest part of putting kind of everything on paper?
I think it's just being vulnerable. I'm such a private person, and putting yourself out there was really hard for me. It's not something that comes naturally, so I think it's just being vulnerable and willing to share the stories, and then trying to remember the stories. I'm not a writer, so trying to go back and remember the stories and actually putting pen to paper. You really have to put yourself out there, and it takes a lot of time.
It's not just about curling. Obviously, it's your life and kind of everything you learned around curling. How did you balance professional curling while also doing what most people would call a real job?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, when you're in it, you just kind of do it. And I think it was, for me, I always talk about this, you just have to really be in the moment. So when I was curling, I tried to devote 100% of myself to that. And when I was with my girls, then they got 100% of my attention. And when I was at work, it got 100% of my attention. So there was a lot of, multitasking, as you want to say, like working on the road when we were curling and trying to find a way, but also trying to surround myself with people who believed in me, and not even so much believed in my dream, but believed in me, that I wouldn't miss a deadline, that I'd get my stuff done, that I wouldn't let them down. And I found that, and I was able to do both, which I'm very grateful for.
Your dad taught you curling when you were 11 years old. Do you think that you would be where you are now in the curling life without your dad?
Not a chance, no. My dad's love of curling, I think, was probably the most important part. He taught me to love the game and to not be afraid to lose, but he was also he was so smart at curling and never really got the credit he deserved. And he took me out whenever I wanted to go. He taught me how to throw the rock and deliver, and it the way to be consistent. And there's no way that I would be where I am without my dad. I'm super grateful for him for so many things. And, I wish he was still here, but because of curling, he'll always be a part of me.
When people say that maybe you're the GOAT, what does that make you feel?
I don't know. It's just kind of, I curled because I loved it. And so when people say those things, it's super flattering and humbling. And like I said, I curled because I loved it, and not to achieve records or medals or anything. I just did it because it made me happy. And then eventually, you have dreams and aspirations, and you try to work hard towards those dreams, but it was never kind of my focus. It was always about doing what I love to do and trying to push the women's game and trying to push myself to be my very best. And I hope that we've made an impact that will have, an impact for years to come. And that, I think, is probably the biggest reward or honor you could ever have, is to make an impact in the sport or in something that you love.
How do you think curling, and even the women's game specifically, has evolved throughout your 20-plus year career?
Oh, it evolved so much. We never used to be on TV, and then we were on TV, and we got to play in the arena all the time just to focus on marketing on the women's game. And then the television numbers were on par with the men, which is really not heard of in sport. And so we were very fortunate. But you can see the growth in the women's game with the accuracy of the shots, the strength, the fitness, the the ability to throw more weight, and just the on-ice talent and technique has evolved so much. And just the aggressive play. We used to be less aggressive in general, and I think there's a lot more aggressive play because the talent is so much deeper than it used to be. But it just even all the other things in terms of equality and prize money and the exposure on television, that's on par with the men, and that was definitely an evolution during my 25-year career for sure.
Throughout your career, how do you think that you personally evolved in like a psychological sense, maybe the mental state of, being a world-class curler?
Oh boy. I was always so afraid of letting people down and letting people down around me, like whether it was my teammates, my family, my friends. I just always wanted everything to be perfect for everybody around me. And I think over time I realized that the people around me just wanted me to try my best, and my best was always going to be good enough. And that was a really big hurdle for me to overcome, because once I overcame that, everything just seemed easier, and I wasn't scared to miss. I wasn't scared to make a mistake. I knew that everybody around me supported me no matter what, and they knew that I was going to try my best, that I was going to give them 100% effort. There was never a question of that. And so that was probably the biggest evolution for me.
So since you retired, I know you were coaching Rachel Homan's rink last year at the Scotties. What was it like kind of making that jump into coaching that kind of team, especially after the loss to them the previous year?
Yeah, I've always thought I wanted to coach, and I really loved it, and the girls were great, and obviously they're so talented. But I said to them, I want to make sure that I'm adding value, and they made me feel like I added value every day. And Rachel and I have always gotten along, so it was great to kind of be a part of their team and feel like I was contributing in some way. And it was definitely something I loved to do. And then they went on and won another Scotties, so it was really fun to be on the other side of the bench for something like that. And for me, I love to coach, and I want to do more of it in the future. Just the time right now, I just couldn't commit the time that I think they need and deserve from me in order to coach them, and it just wasn't in the cards right now.
Well, I know now you're stepping behind the mic and you're actually analyzing some of their play on the Grand Slam level. What's it been to kind of be on the media side, I guess, part of it, watching those Grand Slam events and being behind the mic?
Yeah, I've always wanted to broadcast, and so I think, again, it made the transition to retirement a lot easier for me, and very excited to have that opportunity to be able to do that. And, I still feel like I'm a part of the curling world and get to see some of my friends, and just still feel like get those nerves when somebody is throwing the last shot and the excitement of it all. And hopefully I can continue to add to the growth of the game, and whether that's in the broadcast booth or doing something else, curling has given me so much, and I'd love to continue to give back.
Have your daughters gotten into the sport yet, or are they still kind of on the rise?
No, they both love to curl. Our oldest is competing now, going to tournaments in Bonfields, and has an amazing young team. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to retire, so we could be a part of that and watch her and travel with her and help support her team.
How has it been kind of sharing your story, public speaking, and kind of, trying to push your words even further, I guess you could say?
It's more than I could have ever imagined, really. Like you write the book and you hope one person buys it, and it's been really well received. And going on the book tour and traveling and sharing my story and hearing people's responses and kind of their story that relates to my story has been really rewarding for me, and I loved every second of it. I love meeting the people, and that's one of the things I miss the most, is interacting with the fans. And so this has given me that opportunity to meet so many people across the country and share stories.
Well, I'm really grateful for your time today. Thank you so much. I'm a huge fan, so I'm really happy to get some time to speak with you today. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. Anytime, honestly, anytime at all.
Update now on the new library going into the Leacock Plaza in the northwest part of the city. Barrie Public Library CEO Lauren Jessup is with our Ian McLennan.
Tell me a bit about how it all came to fruition and why it's needed in that part of the city.
For sure. So the library board worked with the city back in 2018 to create a master facilities plan. And in that plan, there was an indication that we have a bit of a gap in library service in the northwest part of the city. So that's, a really established, older part of the city, but no library. So working, through that and talking with the board and members of council, and we're like, we could probably put a smaller location up in that neighborhood, similar to what we have in Holly. And members of council are really excited about that idea. And so we started looking for a space. And, that neighborhood in Letitia Heights, it's quite a lot of residential. So there's not too many places that we could go. But it turns out that there was an opening in the Leacock Plaza that was really, going to work for our needs. So we're going into the old O'Hara's pub, and they're looking at building an addition onto that space as well, so that we have a little bit of a bigger footprint than what's there currently.
And so how many square feet would we be looking at?
It's about the same size as our Holly branch. It's about 4,500 square feet.
And in terms of cost to build this, how is that being funded?
So cost to build is going to be funded from the city's development charges. So that is being handled by city corporate facilities. So the lease is being handled by them, and then we will work with them and the building owner, landlord, to make sure that the space is set up the way we need it to be. And
so if it's going to mimic Holly, what sort of things outside of books that are obviously key that will be a feature for the people who live in that neighborhood?
Yeah, so it is a smaller footprint, right? But we're going to try to use this space the best we can. And, a few lessons learned from Holly is that we might need a little bit more space to host some programs. So we'll have some collections, some programming space. Basically, anything we can fit in there, we will fit in there as efficiently as we can. But we do find with our Holly location that sometimes the programming, it gathers a lot of people, which is a good thing, but that we don't quite have enough space there. So we're going to look to see how we can shift the amount of books and other collections that we have in Letitia Heights, just to make sure that we have room for people. And timeline to have this new facility open? We're hoping to be open maybe this time next year. Construction, you never know how things go, but we are hoping to be open late 2026. It's just always been the business plan to, no pun intended, branch out as the city grows, you grow with it? Absolutely, yeah. That's the idea, right? Is that library services are best when they're convenient and easy to access for people. So making sure that we have the library, walkable for as many people as we can manage. That's the real goal. And they're looking at doing that in the South End as well. So that's the South End Recreation Center Library that I think the mayor has mentioned this week. So we're excited to be in that when it's built, and in that part of the city that is growing, and we can grow with it. So in some parts of Barrie, we're trying to fit in where maybe services have been lacking over time. So we're just trying to just snag a little spot in those neighborhoods that may be more established, but looking to build purpose-built in where they're building new. So as the city grows out, obviously the downtown branch, though key, becomes a bit of a distance for those living in the burbs, so to speak. What difference do you think the Holly Library has meant to people, in that neighborhood, much like when you built in Painswick and around Yonge and Big Bay Point? Yeah, we hear lots of stories from people in the neighborhood that they feel at home in the Holly Library. The programming really seems to resonate with people. Lots of patrons walk to that location. They access the other services that are available in that plaza. So there's a grocery store and lots of other things in there. So it's a convenient way to access the library, and lots have said they really feel at home there. So people haven't outgrown libraries at all, have they? I don't think so. More than ever, people want that space where they can just be and, be together with their neighbors, make those connections. Everything being online, you really need that in-person connection to people who are in your neighborhood. That's really important.
This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely, joined by Samira Rashidianzada and Shannon Murray from the Shoebox Project in Simcoe County in Grey. Shannon, so many different charities this time of year, so many people looking for donations for various groups. This one, though, a little different from all the rest.
This is a very incredible project. It is something very near and dear to my heart. I've always been about empowering women, girls, children, gender diverse individuals, and it was always of how can I make a difference in this city and the community. And this one is just really fun because what I find is a lot of charities, of course, I mean, it's always a financial donation, but it's around the holidays, which is extremely crucial and very difficult for a lot of people. And this charity just is a way to give back to the community in a win-win situation to make it fun. So we're asking for in-kind donations. You put together a shoebox together filled with $50 worth of luxury items. You know, it can be a sports organization, it can be a school, it can be family, it can be colleagues, it can be an office. There are just so many ways that you can put this together. You can host a party and tell everyone to bring something. Each person can be responsible for their own shoebox, or you can tell everybody to bring an item and fill a shoebox. It doesn't matter, but it's just a way to get everybody involved and teach about activism and philanthropy.
And this isn't just a local endeavor, as you're in charge across the country now.
Yes, so I'm very honored to have brought Shoebox Project for Women to Simcoe County and Simcoe Grey, and now been able to pass the baton after 11 years, but we're actually in our 12th year now of Shoebox here in Simcoe, to the incredible Samira Rashidian Zada is now the coordinator, and to help to bring that freshness, while I now focus on being the board of director for all of Canada and supporting in that way with the other fellow board of directors.
But you're not entirely hands-off here, are you?
I am not hands-off.
I can't imagine you being hands-off of anything.
No, it's have built those relationships. And, you know, again, like I said, the 11 years having been the coordinator was incredible for me, but it was even more important for me to be able to pass the baton to Samira, because there are different groups that she can associate with. Like, for example, she's part of the Barrie Persian Association and the Simcoe Persian. So it's really important to me for the inclusion and the cultural aspect of everybody feeling included and welcome. And that's the freshness that Samira brings. Even though I'm behind the scenes and happy to be here to continue to speak about it, because it's always near and dear to my heart, it's those relationships that I've created, but now for Samira to be able to continue that legacy.
Is there a target number you're looking at in terms of number of shoe boxes?
Respect to the request we had it last year, like we are looking for 800 plus boxes to be shipped all over like Simcoe and Grey County.
There's a deadline too. You need to have all these things together by a certain date so you can get them out to the people who need them.
Yes, the last drop will be December 13th, and we will have like the great event on that day. The details coming soon, and the shipment is like 15 to 18. By our great partner.
Affordable Heating and Cooling has been with us for the last few years, and they are our Santa's helpers and elves. And we it's not to name drop, but again, this is what we love about this charity is all the community gets involved, whether they are drop-off locations, media sponsors, and in this case, they take their fleet of vehicles, and without them, we could not be able to deliver all of our shoebox to all the homeless and transitional housing and organizations that are the recipients of our gifts.
And I know in the past you have cleaned out big box stores of their plastic shoe boxes. Have you made that trip yet?
Not yet, but it's on our radar. So
she's coming.
If anybody has any of those shoe boxes, in-kind, decorative boxes, or anything like that, we would definitely receive your gifts. Everyone, we understand every charity and organization is having challenges with fundraising, but we definitely are feeling the pinch as well, and we definitely need those shoe boxes to fill and to meet our need.
Every little bit helps, right?
Every little bit helps.
How can people get involved as far as donating items or donating an entire shoe box or helping you behind the scenes?
We definitely beside the donations and boxes, we need like our amazing volunteers to help us for inspection of the boxes, because boxes has to be like 100% to the standards of the Shoebox Project for Women before we ship them. So definitely we need help. Everybody welcome to check our website and connect with us.
Everyone can go to shoeboxproject.ca/Simcoe for more information. They can also follow us. We're very active on our social media, and they can message us through there, whatever whatever it is that it requires for them to connect with us. If anybody wants to be a drop-off location in the community, in the listening area, then we need you, especially in Wasaga or Collingwood or those areas. We have secure locations in Barrie. We're also looking for more in Orillia, Innisfil, Bradford. And just a reminder that when I like to call it the hashtag Give Where You Live, so every donation that is received within Simcoe County and Simcoe Grey stays within Simcoe County and Simcoe Grey. It doesn't go to any other area. So you get to make a difference and an impact in your community where you live.
If somebody wants to put an entire shoebox together themselves, is it okay for them to wrap it, or do you need to see it first?
Very good question. So we recommend you getting a decorative shoebox, or you can get the plastic ones, and you have to make sure it's not sealed because it has to be inspected. So please just wrap the lower and the lid separately, and no bows because we do have to stack them. And most importantly, it can be $50 worth of luxury items. It can be a non-sanitary product, but again, we have a list of that. It can be a gift card, and most notably, what we've loved is there was a sports team, a hockey team last year, and all the participants got together and they wrote personal notes and cards. That is the gift of resistance, I like to say, because it reminds every woman and girl that they're not forgotten and that they can get through this situation, that personal touch.
Again, the website for anybody who needs more information, wants to jump on board, help behind the scenes, or just help out with a donation.
Yeah, shoeboxproject.ca/Simcoe. And if you're not in a position to be able to make a donation of a shoebox, you can also make a donation by going to our website specifically. When you make a donation there, again, it stays within our community and it helps us to raise our funds. We are all 100% volunteer run, so we can assure you that we do not get paid for the time that we put into this. Everything goes back to our charity and community.
Good on you for doing this. Thanks for coming in to tell us about it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
After a slow start, the Barrie Colts have found their way to top spot in the Central Division corral. Here again is Julius Hern with a look back and a look ahead with Colts analyst Gene Pereira.
All right, Gina, I think you could say that these two games that we saw this past weekend against Saginaw and Peterborough, very much playoff-style games, low scoring, things that really come down right to the last 5 minutes or so of the third period. Would you agree in terms of describing those games in that way?
Yeah, it was more defensive battles. Goaltending was key. Goaltending was outstanding in both games. Shurikin was just outstanding for Saginaw on Thursday, and Ben Revick was good in that 2-1 overtime Saginaw win. But, for Ben Revick comes back Saturday with just an outstanding performance to get the win. I mean, it really just speaks to, how good Ben Revick's been this season.
Yeah, I definitely want to touch on Ben Revick because 69 saves over those two games, including 43 on Saturday against Peterborough. We've mentioned that he's really become one of the better players, maybe even in the country in terms of major junior hockey in goal. But would you say that this is a performance that really put him on the map, so to speak?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, the hope, obviously there was a disappointment that he didn't get drafted this past year, and it was surprising. I talked to a few NHL scouts who really believed that he was going to be selected, and I think there's a strong possibility again this year of him getting taken. But for Ben, I think it was important to come back and prove them wrong, and he's done that. The Colts believe they have one of the best goalies, never mind in the OHL, but in the CHL. And Ben Revick's been that good. And right now he's playing his best hockey. And, after a couple of tough losses to the Sioux in a shootout and then, in overtime to Saginaw, the ability to kind of finally get rewarded for a win against Peterborough, just outstanding. And, it's the type of goaltending, come playoff time you're going to need in those tight defensive battles, which is what we saw this week.
That game against Saginaw, first overtime loss for the Colts this year. And, we've seen the Colts play really well 3-on-3, whether they would win the game in overtime. We saw a couple of huge overtime wins where they would, extend the game into a shootout. What did you notice in that 3-on-3 overtime on Thursday night that turned into that loss?
Well, I think it's one of the things with Keyshawn Aitchison suspended. He's a big factor in that 3-on-3. Usually you see Cole Baldwin, Emil Hemming, and Aitchison out there for the overtime. It's kind of almost unfair with those three, just how dominant they've been in the overtime period, especially Aitchison, who's had a tendency to score big overtime winners. And with Aitchison being suspended, along with Gabriel Eliason for the 2 games this weekend, the Colts were able to run him out. But certainly that's one thing that certainly stood out. But, the 3-on-3, it's one thing where you see, the action goes one way, and if you don't score, it's, most often than not, it means an odd man rush the other way, and it can end that quickly. I think it gives, I don't know how coaches handle it, because it's 3-on-3. It's exciting for the fans because there's usually plenty of action. But like you said, if you don't score at one end, it's certainly coming the other way with another good opportunity to finish the game.
Meanwhile, in that game, Bodie Stewart had the only goal for Barrie. I think that was a really big moment for him, and a player that we've both talked about before. Is his role has kind of diminished a little bit. He hasn't had the same kind of performance as we saw last year. How big of a moment was that for him?
Yeah, it's big, obviously, the confidence. And Bodie had a bit of a slow start. He had a slow start last year, and he was off to another one. And he kind of sat out a game. Talking to Dylan Smoskowitz, was able to kind of just take in the game and look and think about it. And ever since he's come back the last few games, Bodie's been really good, and again, just to get that goal and finally get rewarded. But he's creating chances, and he's been a much better player the last couple of games. And sometimes you need just to take a step back. I think Bodie's done that, and he's responded nicely here.
Let's go over to the Peterborough game. The Colts were 0 for 3 on the power play against Saginaw and 1 for 8 on the power play against Peterborough. One of the best power play units in the entire OHL. What was going wrong for them on Saturday night?
Yeah, they're still getting opportunities, and again, you have Keyshawn Aitchison out of the lineup. He's a big factor on that power play as well, and whether it's the one-time slap shot or just the ability to get down low and create kind of an odd man situation in those and get a goal, he's been that good. But again, Keyshawn, no doubt, is one of the better players in the Ontario Hockey League, and he's a key part of that power play. So I think there was an adjustment there that they had to be made. But, the one thing with the power play is that it's been very good, over the last couple of months. And even though it didn't connect maybe as much as they thought, they're still getting chances, which means that they're creating opportunities. And with Aitchison back, I'm sure that will help that power play, this week. But certainly they're getting chances, and that's the one positive they can draw from it.
I think that begs the question here. Let's say down the road, if Keyshawn Aitchison is out of the lineup again for whatever reason, whether it's an injury or a suspension, how confident does this team feel like they can perform up to 100% without him in the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, the power play, obviously Cole Baldwin, Emil Hemming, they had Cole Emerton step into that role with Keyshawn Aitchison gone, and the opportunity. And so, there's different guys. It presents opportunities for different guys to step up. I mean, obviously you change your power play a little bit about who it runs through and that type of thing, where you're looking for, Aitchison or Bowden on the dots for the one-timer. And, there's always a little bit of adjustment period, but, even though this week that, without Aitchison, you're creating opportunities, and, that's the key, is that you're able to get set up in the zone and create opportunities. And I think with a bit more puck luck, they would have had a couple this year and made that adjustment.
Big piece of news that we saw the last couple of days, the Colts signed Tate Collins, a forward out of Huntsville. What do you know about Tate Collins so far, and how do you see him fitting into the lineup?
Well, again, he's a scorer. He's a point producer, and, that's something that they're looking to add, and it's an area, and talking to Marty Williams with the hockey club, he talked obviously about the trade deadline January 10th as we move along here. And, scoring is one of the issues, and scoring is one of the areas that I think they want to improve on. And Collins is a guy that, it's not now, down the road, is going to be able to produce some offense for them, they feel.
Yeah, and he's committed to Union College next year, so it seems like it would only really be a half a season type of move. Is there anything else down the pipeline that you're sensing from Marty Williamson ahead of that trade deadline you mentioned?
Yeah, and talking to Marty, I asked him, and right now he said he's getting calls both ways, calls for his players and calls if they're looking to add. And talking to Marty Williamson, he said, they definitely talked about adding a big forward to their group. He wanted to see them kind of continue in how they played here. They've been much better of late, which is key for a general manager. If he's going to give up future assets, you want to know that your team is going to provide that chance. And the opportunity's there. I mean, if you look at it, this team can win the division. Right now, they're back on top of the Central Division. You can finish second and kind of avoid Brantford, who I think is over and above the best team in the Eastern Conference by far. So if you do that, you kind of avoid them until the Eastern Conference final. But that's a big part. But I think, you're looking probably at a big-time forward would be an addition. That's something the Colts would hope to add, and possibly another depth forward, another guy that can get you 20 goals. One area as well, as Marty Williamson said, that he would consider is adding another defenseman, another veteran defenseman back to that core.
Well, you mentioned it right there. This team's now second in the Eastern Conference by way of them being first in the Central Division. Points in the last 8 games. I think if we were thinking about earlier in the season, the team's slow start to get to this point, very impressive the way they've gotten here. But 3-3-0-2 on the road this year, and they got a 3-game road swing coming up Wednesday against Sudbury, Friday against Erie, and then Saturday against Niagara. How do you see this 3-game road trip playing out?
Yeah, I mean, these are the games, obviously, you go here on the road and, and you look at the standings. I mean, these are the teams that you want to get wins with. And but, it's always tough, going into Sudbury, and it doesn't matter where they are in the standings. These two teams always play each other pretty tough. And, that starts this week. And then Barrie's got a trip to Erie, and the Otters have really struggled this year. And it's an opportunity there for Barrie, again, but you're playing a desperate team at home. And then, of course, Niagara on Saturday, which is always an interesting battle. I mean, the last time you figure the Ice Dogs would be pretty hungry after that big collapse. The last time these two teams met in the third period where Barrie was able to rally from a huge deficit to come back and win. So you got to figure Niagara will be looking to kind of even the score there.
Yeah, lots of travel this week, but a big plus for the Colts. Keyshawn Aitchison coming back into the lineup. Gene, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Julius.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Julius for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical touch, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcasts available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.